lot of reactions. Who is excited to vote for this? Not one way or another, but who's excited to vote on the proposal? I can't legally tell you what not to support or what to support, but I will share.
Oh no!
Okay. So I do have some notes I'm going to be looking at throughout the presentation or throughout, my little spiel. So I'm going to talk specifically about proposals 2, 3, and 4. Right, so these are proposals from the Mayor's Commission, so these are his questions. I will give you the overview. The council feels that this is taking away their power. The council feels it's taking away your power. Can someone else do it? This is not.
Eric, there's no sound back there.
I know, guys. Bring it up. Just come in closer so it's easy to hear. Thank you.
You can. It's definitely good for the mouth.
All right, so these proposals are a reaction to lack of affordable housing, right? So these are meant by the mayor's office to fast track affordable housing and decrease the amount of time that it takes developers to go through the process. Okay, so 2 through 4 that we will be discussing. Number 2, specifically, your second question after the state question, is fast track for affordable housing. So this would change the current ULURP process. Has anyone been on a community board, knows what the ULURP process is? So that's the Uniform Land Use Review process. So anytime someone is building or changing zoning, that goes through that system, and that system is going through your community board. So representatives that are volunteers from your community, that know your community, that represent your community already, right? And then it goes to our borough president, Donovan Richards. And after them, it goes to the City Planning Commission. And through this process, there are recommendations. So the purpose is, it goes to the community board. There are recommendations that the borough president's office and the city council have to legally respond to, right? So these are board volunteer representatives that go, and I'm also a community board member. We complain, we give feedback, we give suggestions, because no one knows our community more than us, right? That's why we're all here, right? You guys are not loud enough for me. Thank you. Right? So although advisory, the community board has a lot of power. And so this process would change the system from a community board recommendations, then passed on to the borough president, to the borough president's office, and the community board simultaneously reviewing these applications. So they won't be able to get the community board's feedback, the community's feedback, and be able to respond to it in the way that they have been using the ULURP process. So the way the fast track for affordable housing will work is the city council starting, if this is to pass, right? October 1st of 2026, and every 5 years after that, using a formula created by the Department of Housing and Preservation, and with the City Planning Commission. Using that formula, they will create a list of the top 12 community districts with the lowest amount, this is very, very, very important, new housing. So any housing that is set to be going through a ULURP process after October 1st of 2026. So any new housing right now, that won't count. It will only determine what are the districts with the lowest amount of new units of housing, right? And when the questions say affordable housing, it may not actually mean affordable, right? So publicly financial backed housing doesn't have to be 100% affordable. When they're saying affordable housing, a developer may choose to include affordable housing, but it only has to be around 20 to 30%. And by the time they get into the process, they could always change that. They could always wipe that, and then there is no affordable housing, right? And so those 12 districts, those top 12 districts with the lowest amount of new housing, they would be the districts where there would be a priority for those applications to go through this new process that doesn't include vote from the city council. And that's important because the city council are the people that are supposed to fight for who? Again, fight for who? Fight for who? Okay, and so if we're taking the power away from people that are a part of those business negotiations, how do we get things done? Right? By people who know the community. The City Planning Commission, they know city planning, they know land use, right? But our council member knows the district and land use and how the land here works and who uses it and how, right? And why we need affordable housing here and not in this part of the neighborhood. Those are all really important details and only things that a council member can fight for if they're in the room. Right? Because we're not. We vote them in. That's why we have next week. That's why we have election day, to put people in who know what we need. And also because we're raising our voices to tell them what we need. That's the only way it works. And so that would also create, now we're going to the second question, which would be ballot number 3, which would create a new process for managing any, or for reviewing land use applications that don't include an environmental interest study. And so this new process would also, again, have the borough president and the community board review these applications simultaneously to increase the amount of time that it takes to push this forward so we can get affordable housing, but again, removes the council's review. And that's really the council's check in many ways on what the mayor's doing. Right? And another part of that would also be, this part is a little, once I give you the whole beginning spiel about why and how, ballot question number 4, creating an affordable housing appeals board. This appeals board, right? This new appeals board would be comprised of the mayor, the council speaker, and the borough president for that land use application. That sounds a little...
Autocratic.
Audience suggestions, welcome. So it would allow this board 2 to 3. If the board was to vote 2 to 3, it would allow the board to overturn certain applications already approved by the city council. And that silence, yeah, that's real, and we can hear it, right? So that is the bulk of the 3. I gave out these prom cards, right? You will also receive mailers if you haven't already. There should be 1 or 2 versions going to your mailboxes if they have. Has anyone received the mailer? I did. Anyone else in Queens? Anyone else in Queens? Received the mailer? You should have. If you check your mail, you know, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it takes me a week. I just grab everything at once. Check it. But on there's also a little QR code. You'll be able to scan that. It'll take you to a website created by the city council that breaks down, again, what the proposals mean, what would be the outcomes, and how it affects you and takes your power away.
Right. Oh no.
That is it for me. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh no.
No. All I can say is
No.
All right, thank you so much. I have one question.
All right.
When we're at the voting booth and we're going down the line of questions for these 4 propositions, if you were a voter, and this way you're not getting into any trouble.
I can't.
Oh, you're not allowed to do
But I'll
that.
answer that.
Okay, please do.
I can't.
Which
But I
one
can
should I
assure you-
select if I don't want them going to immigration people?
Jessica, thank you so much for coming. Jessica, let's give a round of applause for Jessica. This is one of the few issues where the council is in a nonpartisan way coming out and saying, hey, we want to do an education campaign. And I can tell you this, those 50-something council members didn't like those items on the ballot. So now Jessica had to be fair. She couldn't be biased, but I could be biased. I'm going to answer your question.
Thank you.
So there's these 6 items on the ballot, right? The first one, you're going to see it's going to have to do with the Adirondacks. So depending on how you feel about the Adirondacks, I mean, I like the forest. It seems upstate they like that. It's about an Olympic facility up there, expanding it, and they're going to buy a bunch more forest land. They say to compensate for it. I'm not going to tell tell you on that because that's up to you. But that's with the Adirondacks. They apparently they built the part of the Olympic facility anyway, then realized they weren't supposed to do it, and now they have to make it legal. So these other ones, so these would affect us. So 2 to 4 are huge. People have called these the City of Yes on steroids. So we all here, we heard about the City of Yes, where the mayor's office ran through really a change to how we do land use in the city. So so we have these very tight New York City. We're dense. We have a ton of people. We have strict rules on what you can put where. And these sorts of things keeps our neighborhoods nice. So you have residential neighborhoods. You have your parks. It keeps things in orderly, and But let's tell you the truth. You're trying to make money. You're a developer. You don't care about any of that. You just want to make the moolah. So what happens is the developers put a lot of money behind this. You have organizations like Open New York, which are committing millions of dollars in elections to try to swing zoning and regulations and land use in this city. And what they said was, we don't care about the rules, we want to change the rules, so basically we can do whatever we want. And they pitch it as a great thing. Oh, you can operate a business out of your house, I mean, you can do that already, but now they want you to operate a real, like a big operation in your residential neighborhood. They want yoga studios that take in the middle of a residential block. And insane things, basement apartments, attic apartments, turn your garage into an apartment. They say, well, you get Airbnb to make money. It's like, listen, this is insane. We had flooding recently, and people were getting drowned in basement apartments. That's why they're illegal, because it's below the water table. This is common sense, but if you want to make money, what's happening, a third of the housing stock in this country, this is a crazy statistic, is being bought up by companies, not by people. So you wonder why the housing price was so high. In New York City, we have the same population as we had in the 70s and the 80s, but the housing prices have skyrocketed. How does that make sense? It doesn't. You have other factors at play. You have Airbnbs and companies buying up the real estate. You have investment companies and REITs buying up the real estate, and it's swaying the market. It's not a fair market. So if you're a young family, you can't buy these homes. So why do I say all this? Because now we got 3 items on the ballot. Some of the old timers in the room might remember the Board of Estimate. The Board of Estimate. So what was the Board of Estimate? So in this city, every major decision was controlled by basically 6 people or 7. It was the 5 borough presidents, the mayor, the speaker of the city council. And what happened is they would make every decision for us because they knew better. Well, really the reality is there's a lot of money involved. That went to court, to the Supreme Court of the United States. It was unconstitutional. So that's how we got where we are today. We have these 50-odd-something council members who have the say. Every one of your council members have basically a veto authority on zoning decisions. If there's something in your neighborhood you don't like, you call up your council member, they get a veto effectively. It's a council vote, but there's council deference. The other council members don't usually get involved in your neighborhood. They just follow along. So what happens? What does this mean? If you take that away from your council member and give it to the mayor's office, this is worse. So what do these proposals do? We have this process where it's difficult to change the zoning. Why? Because you don't want someone to ram something through because they can make a buck, for a quick buck. So what does this do? It changes it. We want to speed it up. So all of a sudden, City Hall in New York City have become these giant libertarians. Can you believe that? New York City City Hall, these big libertarians that we want to be good for business. No, you want to be good at destroying our neighborhoods because your donors want it, or like that. So it takes all the power that these 50-something city council members have right now to veto these terrible decisions that are bad for the neighborhood and gives it to the mayor's office. One person. So you don't have 6 people like you used to in the Board of Estimate. You have one person making all the decisions for all of us. And you got no one to call. Right now you can call your council member. You have an accountability. Why'd you say yes to this? We don't like this. Who are you going to call? The mayor's office. You call the mayor. You say, I didn't do it. City planning did it. They're career professionals. They know better than you. I didn't do this. There's no accountability. And that's what thing number 2, number 3, number 4. They all address slightly different things, but they change that ULURP process, the land use review. They take the power away from your council member to do that veto, and they give it to the mayor's office. So think, if you get a mayor that doesn't like that, isn't good, listen. If this mayor was able to have that power, think what he would do for your neighborhood. If de Blasio had that power, think what he would do to your neighborhood. What if you have another de Blasio? You have no one protecting you. You have no one protecting you because your council member, all the power was stripped from them. And that's what these items do. So that's why we have to vote no.
Yes.
We have to vote no.
No!